Welcome to eDay18. Today is Thursday. We are going to do S9 in Algebra 1 only until 75%. After 75%, I would love it if you kept going, but it gets a little bit harder, and I'm going to have us end at 75 unless if you want the challenge. Today we're going to be writing things in y equals mx plus b. They start off a little bit easier. So first, read directions. I really think it's important for students to learn to read the question and what it's asking. You also need to start to remember what the form is called. This is Slope Intercept Form. They give us a lot of information here. They said the y-intercept. Remember, our y-intercept is our b. And then they tell us what our slope is. Our slope is 4. So to write our final equation, this one should be pretty easy. Just plop your information in. We have our slope is 4, and our y-intercept is a positive 8. Our next one. Once again, please read directions. They want slope intercept form. I encourage you to write down what that form looks like. Now they give us our information. They tell us our slope is 2. That's our m. And then they tell us our y-intercept is 0. So they kind of flipped us around this time, but that's okay. So we have y equals slope is 2. And you can do plus 0. Some people will write it without the plus 0. Both answers are correct, and IXL will accept both. The next one, slope intercept form. Please say the name slope intercept form in your head every time you do this. And I want you to write down y equals mx plus b. They're telling you your y-intercept is 5, and they're telling you your slope is 0. Let's put our information in and see what it looks like. We get y equals 0x plus 5. IXL does accept this. However, I prefer 0x is really not there, so if those went away, we have y equals 5. So you can do it either way, but I do really prefer that you guys write it as y equals 5, or at least start recognizing a y equals 5 is a horizontal line and it has a slope of 0. So this took me to, I think, around a score in the 50s. Those should be fast and easy. Then we get something that's a little bit more challenging. This time we're given a point and a slope. We need to start off with a different equation. Do you guys remember what was called point slope? Point slope is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So what we want to do is put our information in. First, this is our ordered pair, and it's a point. It's the point x, comma, y. It's going to replace in our equation our x and our y. And then we're going to replace our slope. So if you have this equation written down on a piece of paper, all of these problems need work on paper. So please do your work on paper. Some of you I'm going to ask to send me pictures of your paper. So you need to have your work on your paper as proof of what you're doing, also so that we can help you. So it says y minus, and my y coordinate is 10. Then it tells me my slope is negative 6 minus, and my x-coordinate is a negative 1. Once you plop this information into your equation, it's a matter of simplifying here. First off, do you guys remember what minus and negative is? That's right, it's really plus a positive. So we have y minus 10 equals negative 6 x plus 1. First thing I want us to do is distribute. So we have y minus 10. When we distribute, negative 6 times x is negative 6x. Next, negative 6 times a positive 1 is a negative 6. Now to get it into y equals mx plus b form, we just need to get y by itself. To get y by itself, we're going to add 10 to both sides. So y equals negative 6x plus 4. This is your final answer. This problem, it's a lot harder than the earlier problems. We are happy to help you on Zoom today, so if you want, you can always come on and we can work with you on it. But what I really need you to do is have the problem, the equations written down. So the first one, for this next one, I really want you to write down the point slope equation. Please write that down on your piece of paper. And now we're going to go ahead and put the information in. It tells us our slope is 0. It tells us our y-intercept is 9. Ooh, we don't even need point slope for this one. Do you know why we don't need the point slope? It's because they don't give us a point. Ah, very good. This is the easier version. What did they give us? Is it the same information they gave us earlier? They gave us our slope and our y-intercept. Don't feel like you always have to use point slope. In this case, go back to your y equals mx plus b. The name of the equations tell you what you have. Here you have your y-intercepts and you have your slope. Let's put that information in. So y equals 0x minus 9. Personally, I would prefer you just write y equals negative 9 because 0x really is 0. However, IXL will accept both ways. So I want you to know, even as you get higher up in your IXLs, some of them are back to what you were doing before. Okay, one more to go. Now, why do we need to use point slope this time? Is because look at what they give us. They give us a point and a slope. Your point slope equation, do you remember it? If you don't remember it, that's okay. Just have it written on a piece of paper next to you. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. And we're going to put all our information in. First, we have our slope is 1. And next, let's put in our information. This x will replace that x. So we'll have x minus, but we're going to replace it with a negative 6. Then my y-coordinate is negative 10. So we'll have y minus negative 10. Now before we start simplifying or continuing, I really like to simplify my minus negatives. I find they're very confusing. So minus a negative is really plus a positive. And let's rewrite this as just y plus 10 equals 1 parenthesis x plus 6. Now we have to simplify. The first thing we do is distribute on the right side. 1 times x is 1x. 1 times 6 is 6. To finish getting the y by itself, you're going to subtract 10. And you get y equals 1x minus 4. Now, like I said, these get harder after around the score of 50 or 55, where you're going to have to use point slope sometimes. I encourage you to come on Zoom with us today, or even tomorrow if you didn't get a chance to look at these notes before 11:30. But come on Zoom with us. We can work through these problems with you. You can go into a breakout room with Mrs. Butler, Mr. Knitter, Mrs. Exline, or myself, and we can work with you one-on-one and do your IXL with you and make sure that you get everything done. I hope you have a great